I hope that was fruitful for you. I hope you were able to come up with some good ideas for both columns. Let me summarize my point here in that I want you to be tuned into the fact that every approach that we take towards God, every effort we make to put it into language, which again is what theology is, will have its limitations. Even if you were thinking about, well, God is unconditional love, and this doesn't sound like unconditional love, even describing God as unconditional love has limits to it. And when we talk about God, I think humility is the key virtue that we need to have, to recognize that every effort we're making has limitations. And if we canonize, if we make any particular theology the be all and end all for us, we're going to end up in some tough times for ourselves spiritually, and we're going to cause problems for ourselves and others. So we need always to have balances. I'm not suggesting we throw this out by any stretch. I'm suggesting it does have help. It does help us in some ways to think about God this way, and it also has its limitations. So just bear that in mind, because that's the book of Tobit, right? That it's an interesting book and makes some really lovely points about God's care and concern for us, makes some lovely points about reminding us that we need to be very conscientious about passing along the faith and our faithfulness so that the good news can be carried on beyond ourselves. But it also has its limitations. And we have to be cautious about those, because we can end up in despair if we think that God rewards us and God hasn't. We despair, or we just get angry and walk away. So take that caution there. I hope that you're able to come back to Tobit in your theological library, as it were, as a resource for help in tough times. But just know it, as all of the books in Scripture, have their limitations. What I'd like to do next is to just take a moment to share with you some additional resources. Unfortunately, they are few and far between. At least healthy ones are, I think, from a spiritual perspective. I was able actually only to find 2 books in print right now that are generally accessible for an ordinary reader. And one of those is Jeffrey David Miller's book, Marriage in the Book of Tobit. So he wrote the Paulist biblical commentary on Tobit, and then he has an entire book on marriage in the Book of Tobit. If you're somebody who likes book summaries, I found one for you, and you can check that out using the link there for wordtrade.com. Irene Nowell wrote the commentary for the Collegeville Bible Commentary, both the old one and the new one, and she's published a collection of those 3, Jonah, Tobit, and Judith, excuse me, which also you can purchase. And hey, it's got 2 of the other books that we're looking at in this series included in it. So what a bargain. There are other books and videos out there. A lot of them are written by fundamentalist Christians or produced by fundamentalist Christians. And the ones that I looked at tended to be promoting traditional or very rigid gender roles for men and women. And they were using the Book of Tobit, which is on marriage, and so has lots of lovely stuff in it. They were using it really to justify some of those perspectives on marriage. So I really think that the Catholic and mainline Protestant approach to Scripture is most helpful for us spiritually, and so I'm not advocating for any of those. There are some videos by Catholic priests out there too. But again, a number of those that I looked through seem to have a very much of a pre-Vatican II approach to the text. So one other little gem that I did find on YouTube is a little song that's free for anybody to use, that puts to music the prayer of Tobias and Sarah in their marriage chamber and offers it for free for use at Christian weddings or anywhere else that you might find it helpful. I'm hoping that you'll come back to be with me again for the next segment. I'm going to be taking a look at the book of Judith. Again, another funny little book. It's very strange and disturbing in some ways, and that's going to be a challenge for us. But I hope you'll join me, and many blessings on you and all your efforts to find God in Scripture.